Hey guys, Fractured Protagonist here again. Today I wanted to talk about toxic relationships. Specifically, the 5 traits that your partner or significant other might have that constitutes or qualifies as toxic behavior. The first sign is if you're constantly criticized or put down. Maybe your partner belittles your personality, mocks any effort you put into anything, or makes you feel ashamed rather than offering support or constructive feedback. Now, every beginning of any relationship always feels nice. It's this thing called the honeymoon phase where both parties feel like they always want to be around each other, they want to hang out, they want to be lovey dovey and just show every sign of affection towards each other because it just feels like this new thing that you both want to explore. And it's always something positive. It's kind of like getting a new toy for the first time, and you always want to play with it and figure out how it works because it's this new thing, and you're so enamored by it, and you can't seem to put it down. That's what it feels like to be in any new relationship because you're still trying to get to know each other. But when time passes, you start figuring out each other's quirks, and then you start getting more comfortable with each other. And the more that time passes, you start realizing the type of person you're really with. It may take a few months or maybe longer. Sometimes you have to be in a relationship for a year, maybe a couple of years to figure out who you're really with and if you really want to spend more time with this person. After that certain time, you might start realizing that your girlfriend or boyfriend, whatever, significant other, is the type of person that likes to criticize you for every single move you make and just has this really terrible habit of putting you down all the time. Now, initially, you may think to yourself, oh, it's nothing, it's not a big deal. That's just who she is, and, that's her personality. Nothing to worry about. Then, as more time passes, you start realizing it's kind of a pattern that your girlfriend or boyfriend or whoever is doing this almost on a regular basis to where every conversation becomes a little stilted and you feel a little isolated. You might even start feeling like maybe you didn't know your girlfriend all along. Maybe she was this person behind the scenes, but she was just trying to put up a mask or a performance so that she could hide herself in front of you and try to put on an act while being in this so-called relationship with you. Now, the sad part of this is you've probably gotten used to all the belittling comments and her condescending nature. She probably mocks you every other sentence whenever you guys are having a conversation about anything, really. And to be honest, I've been in these types of relationships in the past, and they're very, very draining on everything that encompasses who you are as a person. You lose a lot of yourself in a relationship trying to figure out why this is happening, question every move that you're making, and you keep asking, is it my fault? You literally spend a huge portion of the second half of the relationship asking why this happened, and you keep second guessing decision upon decision because somehow you feel like, or were made to feel like, everything is your fault. Which brings me to my second point where you feel like you're walking on eggshells every time, every step you make, every move you make, every word you say. It just always feels like there are landmines everywhere, and you step on one, and then boom, there's going to be a fight that you're going to have with your girlfriend, and you're going to try to figure out what's happening and how to solve the problem that shouldn't have been there in the first place. This is where you're going to start having a sort of identity crisis because you're going to be afraid to be yourself. You're going to be afraid to speak your mind and be your honest self. You're not going to express your feelings from an authentic point of view. This loss of identity will start eating away at your soul, basically. It's going to chip away at who you are, who you thought you were, who you were thinking about becoming. It's gonna affect how you think about yourself in your day to day. You're going to continue struggling with The idea that you probably allowed this to happen instead of realizing in the beginning that this person that you started dating and then got into a serious relationship with wasn't who she was at all. By this point in the relationship, you've probably become more hyper aware of how she speaks, which means you become more hyper aware of how anybody speaks, your friends, your family. You start questioning their authenticity and if they are being honest with you and speaking from a sincere point of view. This is a byproduct of all the years that you've spent just being in a relationship with someone like her who's toxic and tries to be manipulative and tries to tell you that what you've been doing is wrong and tries to twist your words and basically confuses you. Which brings me to my third point: isolation from friends and family. She will try to control your life even further by cutting you off from your own support system, which includes your family and your friends. Usually, since friends and family are outside of the relationship, they can offer a more objective point of view and offer their unbiased opinion about your partner and what they think about her. And they can just be more honest about if the relationship works or if it doesn't. Now, your partner might even start lying to your friends and family and saying to them that you don't even want to be around them in the first place and keep lying to their face and cause all of this emotional stress. Now, in some of these cases, the friends and family are smarter than the partner and will realize that she's lying just to try to manipulate the situation. Which brings me to my fourth point of gaslighting and blame shifting. This is where they make you doubt your own reality, your memories, or even your sanity and always turn situations around and blame you for their mistakes. This is where everything in their eyes is always going to be your fault. How you breathe, how you sleep, how you eat, how you speak. If the weather sucks, it's going to be your fault. Every ounce of rationale and logic just seems to escape everything that encompasses who they are, and they start blaming you and gaslighting you for all these things that happen in life. Even if they're the ones that literally made whatever mistake in front of you, you're the one that's going to be to blame because they like targeting the person in front of them the most, and they think you're the easiest person to manipulate anyway because they've been doing it for so long that they realize maybe you're just used to it and they can get away with it. In their own minds, they're always right and everyone else is stupid. They have this superiority complex where they think they're better than everybody, and they always seem to speak from some place where they have some sort of perceived authority. They're always on their high horse and they're wagging their finger at you, telling you what to do and what not to do. This is also the type of person that brags that they're so easy to get along with and they're so friendly and they have a lot of friends in their lives, but in reality, they have almost no friends. And whoever their family members aren't really in their life anymore. They're often really good at burning bridges and never looking back. Now, one reason why they do burn these bridges is because they've had people in their lives who know exactly the type of person they are. And for fear of being found out, they just cut them off cold turkey and just walk away like they never existed. It's like they're almost trying to start a new life and find a new set of friends. And the way they explain these things is, oh, I used to have these good friends of mine back then, but I realized after a couple of decades that they were just being really fake and weren't my real friends in the first place. So I had to leave them behind. So they still use blame shifting even when they don't have these people in their lives anymore. This tactic is used as a way to make people, potentially new friends, feel sorry for them and potentially new relationships and maybe even coworkers. So it can be kind of difficult to spot them from afar if you don't know them as a person already. Now, if you've been in a long-term relationship with this type of person, you might start to see the difference in power dynamics. This fifth point is where you've been experiencing disrespect for the longest time and you're trying to figure out how to deal with it. This is where every conversation is one-sided, you feel ignored, and you feel devalued, and honestly, your energy levels are super depleted. This is where it dawns on you how unhappy you've been every single day for the last number of years that you've been in this relationship. And then you start thinking to yourself, how did it ever last this long? What can I do to fix it? And maybe you're still trying to consider ways and how to fix it, but you have to realize that the person that you're with is going to continue to break something in the relationship, whether it's your emotions, your boundaries, your mental fortitude is going to be tested, and you might realize that leaving might be just the best option. And honestly, leaving really isn't easy. It's one of the toughest decisions anybody in this type of relationship is going to have to make, because they're going to look back at all the years that they've spent with this toxic person and try to find any kind of excuse as to how they can actually fix it. Maybe they can go to counseling. Maybe they can try to talk it out and, fix it piece by piece. But in the long run, it probably won't work out. And this is where you're going to have to be really, really honest with yourself and tell yourself that this is probably not going to work out. And the best option out of everything else is to really just walk out of that door. Now, if you're lucky, your toxic partner could be the one who decides to just walk out the door for you. If that happens, then don't look a gift horse in the mouth. In the long run, she'll do you the biggest favor of your life. For those of you who still have yet to consider walking out the door, just try to contemplate what the next steps would be after you walk out that door. It's going to be hard in the beginning because you're going to look back at all that time that you shared with each other, that you realize there were some good times apart from the bad, and maybe there's a silver lining through this. Maybe you guys can figure out a way to patch things up. But again, be real with yourself and realize that this was just the best course of action. Now, it might take some time to get over this toxic person, depending on how long the relationship was, but rest assured that over time, things will get better and you'll start realizing, there are better options out there for you. And you just have to learn to be with yourself and focus on yourself as a person. Start opening up yourself to the fact that everything that you've been blamed for in this relationship was probably mostly not true, and that you've just been gaslit into thinking that everything was just all on your shoulders. You'll probably remember things that happen in the relationship that will trigger some sort of emotional response, but don't take it too hard because those are normal things. The best thing to do is to put all your energy into yourself and focus on the road ahead, because then you can start putting more positive things in front of you that will put you in a better positive state, mental state, and you'll just be happier as time goes on. And if you haven't done so already, you can reconnect with your friends and family and, share in the positive energy that they usually bring to you, and you'll feel a little more fulfilled. If there's anything I learned being in these toxic relationships, it's that I'm more sure of myself these days, and I don't need anybody to validate me as a person because I know who I am, and I feel pretty good about myself. Those of you that are still in this situation will undoubtedly cross that bridge when you get there. And once you make that decision to walk out that door, you'll also realize that you don't need anybody else to validate yourself as a person. All you have to do is take that first step. Anyway, if you were ever in a toxic relationship, know that you're not alone. How were you able to deal with it, and how did you manage to leave? Post your own experiences in the comments below. Subscribe if you feel like it. That would be awesome. This has been Fractured Protagonist reminding you guys to keep it simple. Talk to you guys later.